Hello and welcome back to the GB Fantasy Football channel. In today it's going to be the big Game Week 16 differential video covering all players across all positions, all under 10% owned. Now thank you very much for the support on the previous episodes, it's greatly appreciated. I put up a video earlier this week, my recap of Game Week 15 so far and my early thoughts ahead of the Game Week 16 deadline. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. We are on the road to 1,500 subscribers. Go down below, it's completely free, smash the button. And with all Sun Dream Team videos on the channel, 100 thumbs up is the target if you enjoyed today's content. Without further ado, let's crack on with it. With us entering a slightly tricky time period on Dream Team, the changes have been made for these graphs. Plus, every player is under 10% owned, and normally in these graphics we do target strictly the European players. However, from Game Week 16 to Game Week 19, there's only really one or two games at most between all the teams, including European ones and normal Premier League teams. Going into Game Week 20, that of course is still the same. You've still got a couple, Game Week 19 that is, you've still got a couple that will have the League Cup semi-final and the domestic FA Cup third round. So up until Game Week 20, when the European competitions come back, we can start targeting some different teams. Now, as you've seen from the graphic on the screen, we have done just that. Jordan Pickford first up. Robin Royce, I think his name is, from Sunderland, a classic hero from the start of the campaign. Alisson from Liverpool, Kelleher from Brentford, and Lamens from Manchester United. Now, first up, Pickford of Everton. Some decent fixtures coming up, 6.3% owned, which isn't too bad. Arsenal at home this weekend being the trickiest one. They then move on to Burnley away and Forest away in Game Week 17. And then in Game Week 18, it is Brentford at home and Wolves at home. So some pretty decent fixtures once you get through this week. 4 million in price, 19 save points, which isn't bad. Of course, bar Alisson on this list. All these players are strictly pretty much league form this season, so these stats do have to be taken with a pinch of salt. 19 goals conceded, 77 points in total, with nearly 5 average points per game. It's pretty good. It's slightly pricey at that 4 million bracket compared to some of the others on this list, but with some good upcoming fixtures, I can see some clean sheets. Royce of Sunderland, 5.9% owned, 2.6 million, so he has dipped a little bit since I sold him quite a few game weeks back now. 25 save points, which is the most by far on this list. 17 goals conceded for a Sunderland side that many of us would have expected to concede way more than that. 85 points. Mammoth, over 5 points average per game for a value asset that is just about 2.5 million. Ridiculous value. And Sunderland coming up, they've got some okay fixtures. They've got Brighton away in Game Week 16, Leeds at home and Manchester City at home in Game Week 17, and then Tottenham away and Brentford away in Game Week 18. So a tricky mixed bag across there, but Sunderland, they've shown home form wise, even against Manchester City, despite losing a few players to AFCON, they can put up a pretty good fight in that one. Alisson, 3.7% only European player on this list. 4.1 million in value, so very expensive. Only 10 save points, 17 goals conceded whilst he's been in goal, 60 points, and just over 4 average points per game at 4.3. Not too great, but with Liverpool's upcoming fixtures coming up, Tottenham away in Game Week 16, Game Week 17 a very good double with Wolves and Leeds at home, and then Fulham away and Arsenal away in Game Week 18. I'd certainly expect a clean sheet or two in Game Week 17. For Kelleher, quite a few of us have brought Thiago in, starting to target their fixtures. 2.8% owned, 2.7 million in value, 16 save points, 25 goals conceded, which is the most on this list by quite some way. 52 points and only over 3.3 average points per game. It's not great, but we are targeting what's coming up rather than what has been before. Brentford, Wolves away in Game Week 16, so a really good fixture there. Followed by Bournemouth at home and Tottenham at home in Game Week 17, so 2 back-to-back home fixtures, and then Everton away and Sunderland at home in Game Week 18. So 3 home fixtures at the next 5 can't be looked over. And the final goalkeeper on today's list is Lamens of Manchester United, 0.8% owned, 2.9 million in price, only 6 save points, 10 goals conceded. He did come into that Manchester United side quite late on into the season. 26 points and just shy of 3 average points per game, which is really poor. But with Man United, yes, they did concede 4 against Bournemouth last night, time of recording this. We are looking forward to their fixtures, similar to how many of us have brought in players like, not Xerxes, what's his name, Mbeumo, Mateus Cunha and Bruno Fernandes. Defensively, Man United aren't as good as they are offensively, But going forward, Aston Villa away in game week 16, a very tricky tie. But this is more towards game week 17 and 18 onwards. Newcastle at home and Wolves at home in game week 17 for them. And Leeds away and Burnley away in game week 18. So double away fixtures in game week 18, but they've done really well so far. And the Man United one, it just can't be looked past for Newcastle at home and Wolves at home in game week 18. So for that, you'd assume maybe 1 or 2 clean sheets across the board. But this is a Man United defensive side that is very up and down. The player on this list that really springs to mind, probably Pickford. That was a lot of P's. It was like pick up a penguin back in the day. Pickford at 4.8 average points and Robin Royce 2.6 million, over 5 average points per game. If you're looking for a budget option until game week 20, I think he could be back on the cards. On to the defenders. We've got 5 more up on this graphic. Ruben Dias of Manchester City, Chris Richards of Crystal Palace, Lewis Hall of Newcastle, Saliba of Arsenal, and James Tarkowski of Everton. Now, as you can tell, compared to the goalkeepers, this is more European-based side. Of course, we do want these players in from game week 16 to potentially 19, but we want to keep our teams in a position where from 20 onwards, despite more than likely there being rotation in the latter stages of the European competitions, we don't want to stray too far away from that just in case. Now, Ruben Dias, 8.8% owned for Manchester City, 4.4 million in price, 13 bonus points, only 2 tackle points, but 106 points total for the season, averaging 5 points per game. Slightly on the more expensive side. Now, I've put him in instead of Gvardiol, mainly because we don't yet know where Gvardiol is going to be playing in that Manchester City side. We think he's going to continue at left centre back with Nico O'Reilly at left back. But Nico O'Reilly is fairly fresh into the team. He's played lots of minutes. It wouldn't surprise me if Manchester City brought in another centre-back or another defensive option in January. And Ruben Dias, he is the leader at the back. He will play more minutes, I believe. And for that, that is the reason why he's made it into the graphic. West Ham at home in game week 16, a very good defensive-based, I'd say, fixture for them. Same as attacking-wise. I expect a clean sheet for Manchester City in that one. In game week 17, Forest away and Sunderland away. Sunderland away, a pretty tricky fixture, but it wouldn't surprise me if Man City continue this really good run of form that they're on now. And Chelsea at home and Brighton at home in game week 18. So anytime City play at the Etihad, you do back them for points. Chris Richards, Crystal Palace, a few defensive issues for them. Yes, Munoz is going to be out for 4 to 6 weeks. Ismail Assar, despite him playing in a number 10 position, he does indeed keep that structure, the 3-4-2-1 or 5-2-3, whatever you want to call it for Crystal Palace, very much in line. And with Richards being on that right-hand side, he could be affected slightly. 3.7% ownership, 3.9 million in price, 8 bonus points, but it's 21 tackle points, which is really where he shines defensively. 116 points and 5.5 points average per game for a player that's under 4 million and is very reliable. So those 5.5 average points, you'd assume, are coming in pretty much every game for Palace. Just really good, solid option. Him, Gay, Lacroix, that trio at the back have been very solid for Palace throughout the campaign. Lewis Hall of Newcastle, 2.4% owned. For reference time of recording this is before the Carabao Cup fixtures on Tuesday and Wednesday, so we're yet to see if Lewis Hall does play against Fulham in that one. Unfortunately, due to the Dan Burn injury, it looks like he's going to be out until the new year. So Lewis Hall's minutes and Malik Chow's minutes potentially going through the roof. Trippier, Kraft, Burn and Botman all are injured. I don't know, unless they bring in a youth prospect, maybe shift someone like a Malik Chow to right back, Livramento to left back. I don't see how Lewis Hall's minutes are going to be managed, and it will be an issue going forward. 2.4% owned, 3.6 million. 14 bonus points for a player that's been out for a lot of the season is a very good return. 9 tackle points as well, so he's chipping in heavily when he does play. 59 points and over 4 points average per game at 4.2. It's good value for money, but when you look at it compared to someone like Chris Richards, who's 0.3 more in price, maybe Palace's better fixtures have come and gone, and Newcastle do go into a slightly better run of form now. Sorry, run of fixtures rather than form. Chelsea at home, but it's the away form for Newcastle that's really affected them this season. And with Man United away and Burnley away in game week 17, but Crystal Palace and Leeds at home in game week 18, with 3 home fixtures out the next 5, I think Newcastle could be good for a clean sheet or 2. And of course, with Lewis Hall, it doesn't necessarily revolve all around the clean sheets. For Saliba, currently the most nailed asset in the Arsenal defence. I don't think he will play in the Carabao Cup fixture against Crystal Palace next week, unfortunately. So for him in game week 16, he does have the double away to Everton and at home to Palace in that one, closely followed by Brighton at home and Villa at home in game week 17, and then Bournemouth away and Liverpool at home in game week 18. So the fixtures are very mixed. I don't expect Saliba to play that Carabao Cup fixture. There's lots of defensive issues, and they're slowly getting Gabriel back. It looks like maybe in the new year, towards the back end of December. Same with Kai Havertz. It looks like they are very much along the same lines as coming back injury-wise, weeks-wise, such as. But for Saliba, I think they're going to wrap him in cotton wool for that Crystal Palace game, so I wouldn't expect a double. You could hope for one, definitely, but I don't think I will be rushing to bring an Arsenal defensive asset in case they play both in game week 16. 3 bonus points, 6 tackle points, which was a lot higher than I thought it would be for someone who doesn't look very flustered at the back at times. 86 total points, 5.1 average per game, and it does, of course, cover off the Arsenal clean sheet if they start coming up again. And the final defender on this list is James Tarkowski of Everton. Similar to where I spoke about with Pickford in the last slide, their fixtures going forward are very good. 3.4% owned, only 3.5 million in price. Historically, Tarkowski has been pretty good from set pieces. Been a little while since he's put a bullet header in the back of the net, but we know he is capable of doing such things. And with Jared Branthwaite perhaps coming back in the new year, I'd go for Tarkowski over someone like Michael Keane. 6 bonus points, 9 tackle points, 7.8 points total. 78 total points and 4.3 average points per game. So the players on this list that stand out, Lewis Hall, very much regret not going for him a couple of weeks back, especially now considering the Dan Burn injury news. The 5 midfielders do include 4 European players and another Everton asset. You might see a theme throughout this video. First up, Bruno Guimaraes. Started decently, I'd say. I think he picked up 5 points in game week 15. Game week 15, part 1. They still have yet to play Fulham in the Carabao Cup. Couple of shots on target in that time with Derby. 6.8% ownership, 5.2 million in price, so a very expensive asset. 13 shots on target though, can't be looked past. He's getting shots away from the edge of the box. He's breaking in occasionally, and with 13 bonus points accompanying that, with 129 points this season, and 5.6 average points per game. It's a very, very solid season so far for him. Cherki of Manchester City, I think it's Cherki. Anyway, 5.3 million in price, which is a lot more than I thought he would be. Quite a few of us currently in our teams have got that double up on the Manchester City attack with Erling Haaland and Phil Foden, of course, in really good form. Whether or not we want to go for a triple up is still yet to be seen. Leave a comment down below on that kind of thing interests you. Are you going to go all out on a Manchester City side that are free flowing and very goal heavy at the minute? 10 shots on target, 10 bonus points, 95 total points in total. So he's nearly hit that century mark despite missing quite a bit of the campaign through injury, and 5.9 average points per game, nearly 6 average points every time he steps on the field. For a player that many of us, myself included, would say he's a rotation risk. He's on the bench a few times, but it looks like he's very much nailed in that Manchester City lineup. Of course, it's Pep using the term nailed is very loose, but when he's on the pitch, he's pulling out Rabona crosses, he's getting assists, he's getting bonus points. And with the news that Jeremy Doku could be out until the new year, I think they're going to lean even more heavily upon players like Cherki. Next up, Joe Garner of Everton, 0.2% owned, 3.6 million in price. Did fill in at left back, I believe, at the start of the season. Played right back a few times while O'Brien. Sorry, I think it's O'Brien or O'Brien. I think it's O'Brien. I had this mistake at the start of the campaign. He missed a few games, and of course, Michael Keane picked up an injury not too long ago. But Garner, he is their multi-purpose man in midfield, plays many roles. 7 shots on target, 16 bonus points, which can't be looked past at all. 89 points in total. And for a player that's just over 3.5 million in price, touching nearly 5 average points per game, he isn't necessarily going to pick you up those big points hauls or maybe get goals and assists. But similar to how Elliot Anderson was for us at the start of the season, I think he could be that over the next few game weeks. Yeremy Pino of Crystal Palace, 1.7% owned, 3.9 million in price, scored pretty well over the last few weeks. Shelbourne, he picked up a really good return as well. 12 shots on target, which is very good. 5 bonus points for saying he did replace Eze in that side, and he is playing in exactly the same position. Only 5 bonus points is very low. Of course, you can't replace a player like Eze and that sort of quality that he brought to the Palace side, but Eze was picking up things like 5 bonus points in one game at one time. So to only see 5 over the cross, the entire campaign so far is quite low. 101 points, 4.8 average points per game. And with Ismail Assar out and Mateta not really up to fitness, still nursing that knee injury, I think Pino's minutes will be really good. Well, I don't think he'll play both in game week 16. We've been told that Glasner will make 11 changes between I think it's the Arsenal game and the Loops game, but we know how he is with those kind of rotation risks. And the final player on today's list is Martin Odegaard of Arsenal. Got his rest against Wolves and he was greatly missed. Dictating the tempo in midfield, 1.9% owned, 4.1 million in price, 6 shots on target, which is a lot higher than I thought it would be for a player who is quite reluctant to shoot at times. Only 3 bonus points, which is very low, 39 points and 3 average points per game. That is, of course, heavily affected by his multiple substitutions prior to the 30th minute mark at the start of the season, heavily affecting that. Coming off the bench quite a few times as well whilst coming back from fitness. But I think going forward, Odegaard will be in that starting lineup quite a bit. I say if Arsenal play 10 games, he's certainly going to be in that starting lineup at least 9, injury permitting, of course. So the player on this list that really catches my eye, by no surprise, is Shirky of Manchester City. And last but by no means least on today's video are the attackers, the trickiest part of the video by far. A couple of weeks ago we had players such as Gyökeres and Alexander Isak under that 10% ownership threshold. We also had Igor Thiago at the start of the season, but it seems like a few people are slowly shifting towards that 3-striker formation and thus bumping up the ownership percentages across the board. Now first up, Matheus Cunha of Manchester United, 2.8% ownership, 4.6 million in price, 16 shots on target. Yes, 16 shots on target. Now we've seen many players on these graphics across the weeks. Shots on target normally bring points across the season. Yes, not necessarily scoring all the time, but if they're getting shots on target, that is the best chance creation possible for that thing to happen. 3 goal involvements, 2 goals and an assist this season so far. Got the goal against Bournemouth on Monday night. 73 points total for the season, but 5.2 average points per game is a very good return for a player that hasn't necessarily started every game. But when he's come on, he's done the damage. And with Mbeumo going off to AFCON now, I fully believe it'll be Cunha. It will be probably Sesko and maybe Mason Mount in those attacking positions. Next up, Eddie Nketiah, 0.7% ownership, 2.5 million in price. Surprise benching against Manchester City with Sarr coming back into the side, but with him now leaving, I'd assume Nketiah does get that role, especially with Kamada also out injured. 10 shots on target, 5 goal involvements, 56 total points, 3.7 average points per game. I think his goals against Shelbourne really showed what kind of a player he is. When he gets in the box, he will score you points. For Ollie Watkins, 4% ownership for Aston Villa. Manchester United at home in game week 16. Chelsea away and Arsenal away in game week 17. And then Nottingham Forest and Crystal Palace away in game week 18. So some tricky fixtures. But with Villa's run of form currently, you can't look past them. He's not necessarily getting the goal involvement, but he's had 15 shots on target this season. 4 goal involvements, 73 points, 3.2 average points per game, which is quite low. And bar his return against Brighton away, I believe it was, where it was a 15+ pointer or so, it's been disappointing across the campaign. But eventually, with Villa's form, I can see goals coming for Ollie Watkins. Now, a surprise one for this list, Dominic Calvert-Lewin of Leeds, 0.4% ownership, 2.8 million, so a good differential and a good differential for price reasons. 14 shots on target. I'm going through the data. I'm seeing that he's pretty much having a shot on target every game for a Leeds side that isn't necessarily known for their attacking prowess. 6 goal involvements, 73 total points, and 4.9 average points per game for Leeds, which is a really good return. Crystal Palace at home in game week 16. Double of Sunderland away and Liverpool away in game week 17, so tricky fixtures there. But Man United at home and Newcastle away in game week 18, so the fixtures aren't necessarily there for Calvert-Lewin. But we saw the other week, he's getting goals in fixtures you wouldn't necessarily credit him to normally getting them in. He scored at the Etihad, he's on penalties for Leeds, and for 2.8 million at nearly 5 average points per game, he's getting a shot on target pretty much every fixture. So that means his baseline is 3 points going into the game if he makes it to that 60-minute mark, which he is pretty much getting through the 90 minutes at the minute. And the final player on today's list is Igor Jesus of Nottingham Forest. Chris Wood's injury doesn't look like it's clearing up at all. Igor Jesus, 2.8% ownership, 2.7 million in price, so a very good value asset, 14 shots on target across the entire campaign. So every player on this list today has reached double figures for shots on target, a key asset and a key figure to watch. 8 goal involvements, 92 points for the season, and 4.4 average points per game. So the two on this list that definitely catch my eye: Calvert-Lewin for that price, 2.8 million. Yes, the fixtures might not be there, but if you can pick up perhaps 4 to 5 points even when you're not scoring in those games, I think that's a solid return. And also Matheus Cunha of Manchester United. Maybe that's a bit of nostalgia from the Wolves campaign last season, but he's clearly putting up some very good statistics, and 16 shots on target. I can see some goals coming in that Manchester United side over at least the next 3 game weeks. That does indeed conclude the big game week 16 differential. Slightly different this week, a few more interesting players added from not necessarily the European team. Leave a comment down below on what your transfers are lining up to be for that game week 16 deadline. Are you now focusing on single game week players, or are you still prioritising those Palace and Arsenal assets in hope that they do play in both fixtures? Don't forget to subscribe down below if you have enjoyed today's video. It's completely free and we are on the road to 1,500 subscribers. Like if you haven't liked already, 100 is the target, and hit the bell notification so you don't miss an upload in the future. Down below in the description are my socials, TikTok, Instagram and X, all that good stuff. And don't forget to leave a comment down below on how everything is going so far in game week 15. Now thank you very much for watching today's video, and you'll be seeing me in a new one very soon.